Interesting interviews with interesting people from all over the world. It's time for the Brett Davis Show on The Answer San Diego. And now, here's Brett.
Right now, I'm being told I need to get off my pulpit here and get on with the interview because Michael's probably got to go to the bathroom. He's holding it. And Michael Albro, are you there?
I am.
Did you feel all the wind as I was speaking? Did you feel the what do they call the wind in Arizona? What's that wind called? There's a wind.
Santa Ana. No, that's here.
The haboob.
A what?
The monsoon.
A monsoon.
Well,
That's with rain.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's
Right.
maybe it's me spitting as I'm talking. It's a monsoon of
term
talk
for
and
it,
spit.
it would relate to your pontifications or bloviating, Brett. They call them haboobs.
That's a haboob.
That's right.
That's a haboob win. Which I have a friend who wrote a book called Haboob Win, but that's another story too. But so anyway, Michael and I go back a few years, and Michael, you're doing some great stuff. You have for the last 11 years, 10 years.
Yes, sir. Yeah, just a little bit over a decade now.
So tell us what you do.
Well, so Brett, you and I met back in 2010. This was kind of right as I was turning the page from, self-sabotage and basically just being my own worst enemy and, kind of stuck in a place with alcohol addiction and other things. You and I met in 2010 when I relinked with Bill Phillips in this transformation community that we were part of at the time. And part of that community was philanthropy and charitable fundraising for, at the time, Make-A-Wish Foundation. So we spent a couple of years collectively working to raise funds for Make-A-Wish, and then when that community kind of dissolved a little bit, as things do with time, I needed to find a platform to continue fundraising and philanthropy for a charity that I really believed in, and that ended up being St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I will say that the first time I started fundraising for St. Jude was in January of 2011 at the Rock and Roll Half Marathon here in Arizona. Yeah, so I ran the Rock and Roll Half Marathon as a St. Jude hero in 2011. That sort of coincided with, what we were doing in the transformation community at the time. And so that kind of kicked off what I was doing for St. Jude, and that has grown and evolved over this last decade to the point where, I've raised tens of thousands of dollars for the charity as an individual fundraiser and have increased my volunteer activity through being a volunteer leader, St. Jude Hero Ambassador, or being a national ambassador for St. Jude. St. Jude is just a phenomenal charity. A little bit, we've got a minute about sort of their origin story. I think most people are probably familiar with St. Jude, but St. Jude was founded, it was the brainchild of actor Danny Thomas.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Father of Marlo Thomas, who has, interestingly enough, been married for a lot of years to Phil Donahue, former talk show host. Anyway, Danny's family were refugees from Lebanon, Syria. So they were Lebanese, and Danny came over with aspirations to get involved in the acting community as he grew. And in the 1950s, he made a pledge because he was struggling and was having financial difficulties. So he made a prayer and a promise to St. Jude, who is the patron saint of hopeless causes, that if he garnered success, he would build a shrine in honor of St. Jude. And so he founded an organization called ALSAC. And ALSAC is it's the American Lebanese Syrian Associated Charities. It's the fundraising and awareness organization for St. Jude. He founded that in 1957. And then, living up to his promise, St. Jude was built and put into operation in 1962. And they are phenomenal. They help countless children, not only in the United States, but worldwide, overcome childhood cancers and other life-threatening diseases. And 80% or better of the operation of the hospital is funded through charitable donation.
Well, that's a great, it's great information. There's things I didn't know about how I got started. I appreciate that. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, talk a little bit more about some of the amazing stuff that you got coming up.
We'll be right back with Michael Albro on The Brett Davis Show, FM 96.1 North County and AM 1170 San Diego. This is The Answer.
So anyway, Michael Albro, who is somebody that when I need to get inspired and I've been eating too many Twinkies, I watch what he's doing and he gets me motivated and inspired. And right, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I love putting my fitness stuff out there. I've been doing that for, over 2 decades now. And I just have to say that I'm on the Nikki Rotten's website right now. I love that name, by the way. It's a great name for a restaurant.
Oh, you should see this place. It's on fire. You can't get a seat in there unless you know somebody that's connected. So, you're doing this event where you're running. Is it the Grand Canyon?
Yeah. So most of my fundraising this year is centered on an October South Rim to North Rim, rim to rim in the Grand Canyon in a day. So it covers the better part of 22 miles and close to 5,000 feet of elevation change.
You're going to run 22 miles in the Grand Canyon?
Well, I'm going to trail run bits and pieces.
No, don't downplay it.
Running,
don't downplay it. 22 miles is 22 miles, and then you've got hopefully it's going to be earlier in the morning because I would not want to do it earlier in the afternoon or day or whatever the deal is.
Yeah, so it's going to be a super early start, probably before daybreak, and you kind of have to get down to the river and through this section when you're heading up on the North Kaibab Trail called the Box. That's probably the area where if the sun is intense and high in the sky, that's an area where you can get cooked. So you kind of want to get down to the river and through that area and head it up on the North Kaibab Trail before it gets too warm. But this is going to be like October 5th.
It's still warm.
Be warm. It sounds like an episode from Naked and Afraid to me, but it's very impressive.
Well, if it's naked, if
semi-clothed.
Well, if it's Naked and Afraid, hopefully it's a warm day for you, my friend.
There you go.
You don't want to run when it's cold. People start talking about you.
I have a question. Oh, bump. Can I ask a question to Michael?
No, you can't. You're the boss of the show.
Okay.
You're the matriarch right now.
I am asking a question. So when you do that, how much water do you drink along the way? Like, how does it work with the 22 miles?
Yeah, so you have to do a lot of research and really know what you're doing when you're operating in that type of an environment. So from a hydration perspective, and there is water along the way because these are corridor trails that go through the Grand Canyon. But I'll carry 3 liters to start.
Wow.
And then electrolyte balance is also super important because there's this thing that not a lot of people know about called hyponatremia, which is water intoxication.
Yeah.
Which can be as dangerous.
I've heard of it.
People have died from that.
Yes.
Like with fraternities. Hazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a fine balance, and you basically just sip along the way. When you're sweating profusely, of course, then you need to replace more of that water and the electrolytes. So I would guess that for me, depending on the temperatures that day, from the south rim to the north rim, I will probably go through roughly 6 to 7 liters of water during that trip.
Wow. And how long are you estimating?
Well, that's going to be also kind of dictated by the weather.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to get the South Kaibab down to the river is 7.5 miles, and so that's going to be the heading down into the canyon, which is going to be a little bit faster. Coming out obviously marching the switchbacks up to the North Rim a little bit slower. I'm anticipating my time to be somewhere between 12 to 15 hours. So I'm not going to be pushing super hard, and I'll be trail running bits and pieces, but you have to take those dedicated breaks, make sure that you're eating your snacks and doing all those self-care things along the way.
Now, you had an injury happen. Was it yesterday?
Yeah. It's funny, Brett, because when that happened out there, what flashed into my mind because of our conversation was the last time I was out in Chula Vista to visit you. Remember when we were out there with Lauren and we had that little get-together? I went for like a 3-mile run that day, and I tweaked my calf on that run about 2 miles in.
So then I call you. I haven't talked to you since then, and now you pull your hamstring?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I see a trend here.
Yeah, is that where you're going with this?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm going.
Now, is that the time you stayed at our house and you slept with that big bear that we had?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that was a very interesting photo. I remember you and that gigantic. The bear was as big as you were.
Is this a code for something?
You're terrible.
Big in what area, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, no, I remember that. As a matter of fact, you worked out in my home gym in the garage.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that. Yeah, that was a while back. So how are you gonna, now that you had this little, was it a hamstring pull?
Yeah, it's nothing severe. So, I've really learned over the years not to try to run through these things. When I start to feel tightness, I'll keep going. But then as soon as I feel like that acute pain, where I know if I keep going, then I'm going to do some major damage, I stop. So I basically shut it down after about 1.25 miles and walked it back because I knew if I kept going, that it was not going to be good. And I don't want to debilitate myself in advance of hiking the Grand Canyon rim to rim.
I have a question. This may be odd, but I'm always curious about this. When you pull something like a hamstring or another muscle, is it ice first and then heat? Or is it heat, ice? Is it one or the other? What do you recommend?
Yeah. So in the fit biz and just in rehabilitation recovery in general with these types of injuries, we have an acronym called RICE. It's rest, ice, compression, and elevation. So the way I usually treat is, I'll ice it right away. So that's important when you have an injury like this. Elevate, ice, and then afterwards it's compression. So like right now I'm wearing a compression sleeve with an ice pack underneath it, and then just kind of take it easy. You don't want to get back out there too quickly. Scar tissue builds up in these types of injuries a little bit, and you might feel recovered or you might feel like the injury is healed. Mm-hmm. But injuries like this typically take, from a running perspective anyway, about 4 to 6 weeks before you can really get back out there. So I can hike on this. I can walk on this. I'm not even after yesterday, I'm walking around today and I'm not really noticing any pain from it. But if I went out and tried to run again,
feel it
would be good. Yeah.
What's your theory or what's your take on the whole cryo thing? It's become very popular the last few years. And have you done it?
I have not personally done that, but we know that cold therapy works very well. One of the common treatments for recovery for marathon training and ultra running training is to take an ice bath. So we definitely know the benefits of cryotherapy. I think that it's like anything else. You have to take it in its proper context, and it becomes another tool in the toolbox. You have to make sure, especially in those types of treatments, that you're working with people who are directing you appropriately, and we're not overdoing it because you can do some major damage to your body. In fact, there have been a couple of professional athletes that have had cryotherapy done, and it's caused them to be on the sideline for a while because of some of the damage that was done as a result of that.
I wonder what they did. I've actually started doing it the last couple months in Coronado.
Really?
Yeah, because we have a potential sponsor that's like, you got to come check my facility out. It's 3 minutes, and you think 3 minutes, but you get in there and it seems like eternity.
Oh yeah, especially when you're in that environment.
And because I have no hair now, I went in there with no beanie, and so the first thing it hurt on my body and this is going to sound very, I don't know what it's going to sound like, but you wear booties on your feet, you wear gloves, and you cover your nipples up. because you don't want to get frostbitten.
You're going somewhere else with this, aren't you?
Well, I was trying not to. And then, and so then I go in there feeling pretty good. I'm like, give me the full dose, 3 minutes. I'll cover my nipples. I'll go in there with the booties. The one thing I didn't think about was I don't have hair. And so the first thing it hurt on my body after 2 minutes was the top of my head.
Yeah. Oh. Ouch.
How did you get that clip? That's exactly what happened.
It's real audio from you.
In fact, I think I was going to say it's.
So, one thing I did notice, complete bliss for 24 hours, mental clarity, not that I don't have any. Michael will disagree, of course. And I just felt more, I feel more at peace. I'm sleeping deeper. And so I think for people that maybe are having inflammation in their bodies, probably the cryo could probably be very effective in recovering.
And a question for both of you. Have you heard of, I believe it's called True Rest? It's a floating spa. They're big in Arizona, Michael. Have you? How do you feel?
No, I have heard of that. So hydrotherapy and that
yes.
aspect. And everything, again, like if you're a person who's addressing your health with exercise, with proper nutritional habits, that's where you start to delve a little bit more, dig a little bit deeper into things like cryotherapy and hydrotherapy. Now, they can benefit the average person as well, but someone who's already addressing their health and is taking those types of steps will probably notice a little bit more relief and benefit from those types of therapies.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard nothing but good. And Chris actually designs them. My husband.
We need to talk more.
I know.
So, Michael, it's been an honor having you on our show. You did bring some spice, which I knew you would, of course.
Oh, there's a lot more.
Zoni spice.
Here, but,
Zoni spice.
We can run off the rails pretty quickly with this stuff. I do want to say that, you and I have known each other for over a decade now.
I'm sorry about that, Michael.
Appreciation for both. You and Sarah are both incredible people, and you've been a big part of my journey. So I just wanted to express that appreciation, and you guys are doing
I appreciate that.
phenomenal things. Yeah,
I know we don't talk. We don't
back and forth. Will always be there, right, between you and I. And you have a great sense of humor and a lot of depth.
Well, on your part at least. Michael, thank you so much. What's a good website, or can you give us some information people can go to find out more about your journey and all the things you're doing?
Absolutely. So as far as the fundraising aspect is concerned, my link for my fundraising page is Heroes, that's HEROES, .stjude, STJUDE, .org, ORG /FitPro 2021. And I have a $10,000 fundraising goal this year. I'm hoping to eclipse that. I have a lot of irons in the fire on the fundraising side. I'm pretty relentless with it because I have such a passion for St. Jude and everything that they do for these kids and these families. I mean, if you saw it up close like I have, you would be like, wow. And these families attach to this organization. It's family to them. In any case, and then on the fitness side of things, you can find me on Facebook, first and last name, or my page is Fit Prophecy. Somebody asked me what this was. So now you're a prophet. I'm like, well, okay. I don't know about that, but
well, I appreciate your friendship and everything that you do, and thank you for everything, Michael. We appreciate you.
No, thank you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. I enjoy the show. I've had a chance to catch a couple of your recent podcast episodes. One particularly that I was watching that fascinated me was the gentleman that owns the shop, and he sells the singing bowls and the quartz pieces.
We'll be talking more about that. Have a great time. We look forward to speaking with you soon and staying in touch with you, Michael.
Nice to meet you, Michael.
Yeah, you too. All the best to you guys.
Got to take that break.
It's that time. We'll be right back with the Brett Davis Show, FM 96.1 North County and AM 1170 San Diego. The Answer.